When the police handcuffed my own son in front of his screaming children, I didn't feel guilt. I felt peace. Because sometimes the only way to teach a lesson is to destroy everything they love. My name is Dorothy Chen, and I'm 71 years old. For 53 years, I lived in Seattle, Washington, in a small but beautiful house on Beacon Hill with a view of Mount Rainier. My late husband Thomas and I raised our son there, a boy we named Kevin. We gave him everything: piano lessons, basketball camps, a college fund we built penny by penny. Thomas was a postal worker. I was a school cafeteria manager. We weren't rich, but we were proud. We owned our home outright, paid off every single mortgage payment over 29 years. That house was worth $580,000. By 2023, it was our retirement, our legacy, our security. Thomas died in 2019 from pancreatic cancer. It was fast and brutal. One day he was complaining about back pain. 3 months later, he was gone. I was 65, years old and suddenly alone, in that big house with nothing but memories and grief. Kevin was devastated. He'd always been close to his father. He flew in from Tacoma, where he lived with his wife, Jessica, and their 2 kids, Emma 8 and Tyler 5. He stayed with me for 2 weeks after the funeral. He held my hand during the lawyer meetings. He helped me sort through Thomas's belongings. He promised he'd take care of me. "Mom, you're not alone. You'll never be alone. I'm here," he said, hugging me tight. I believed him. Kevin had always been a good kid. A little impulsive, sure. He'd made some questionable decisions, dropped out of community college, bounced between sales jobs, married Jessica after knowing her only 6 months. But he was my son, my only child, the center of my universe after Thomas died. What I didn't know was that my son was drowning, and instead of asking for help, he decided to drag me underwater with him. The first sign came 6 months after Thomas's funeral. Kevin started visiting more often. Every weekend, he'd drive up from Tacoma with the kids. Jessica rarely came. Always some excuse about work or headaches. At first, I was thrilled. My grandchildren running through the house again, their laughter filling the empty rooms. But then Kevin started asking questions. "Mom, have you thought about what you're going to do with this house? It's a lot for one person. Have you looked into your finances? Dad's pension, Social Security, the life insurance? Do you have a will? Power of attorney? What if something happens to you?" I should have been suspicious, but I was lonely. I was grieving, and I wanted to believe my son cared. "I'm managing fine, honey. The house is paid off. I have Thomas's life insurance. $175,000, plus the house equity. I'm comfortable," I told him. His eyes lit up when I mentioned the life insurance money. I saw it, that flash of calculation, but I ignored it, because mothers want to believe the best about their sons. "That's great, Mom, but you should really think about protecting that money. Investing it properly. I've been learning about financial planning." "Let me help you." Red flag number 1. Kevin had never shown interest in finance. He'd failed basic math in high school. But I was tired. I was sad. And I trusted him. That trust would cost me everything. Over the next 3 months, Kevin slowly, carefully, systematically gained control of my entire life. And I let him do it because I thought he loved me. It started with small things. He offered to help me set up online banking because it's safer, Mom, and easier to track expenses. He sat beside me while I created accounts, watched me type passwords. I didn't know he was writing everything down in a small notebook he kept in his pocket. Then came the doctor's appointments. Kevin insisted on driving me to my annual checkup. My dentist appointments, even my eye exam. "You're getting older, Mom. What if you get dizzy driving?" I'd never forgive myself if something happened. He sat in every waiting room. He came into every examination room. When doctors asked me questions, he'd answer before I could. "She's been having memory issues, doctor. Forgetting names, repeating herself." "I'm worried." I wasn't having memory issues. I was sharp as ever. But Kevin planted those seeds with every medical professional I saw, building a narrative, creating a paper trail. The real move came in February 2023. Kevin arrived at my house on a Tuesday morning, a work day, when he should have been at his job at the car dealership. He looked terrible, eyes red-rimmed and puffy, hands shaking. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something serious." My heart dropped. I thought someone had died. Maybe Jessica. Maybe one of the kids. "What's wrong, honey? What happened?" He pulled out a stack of papers, legal documents, words like durable power of attorney and financial, management and healthcare proxy. Swam before my eyes. "Mom, I've been talking to a lawyer. You need to protect yourself. What if something happens to you? What if you have a stroke like Dad's cousin Eleanor? Who's going to manage your money? Pay your bills? The state could take everything." He was crying now, real tears streaming down his face. "I can't lose you, Mom. And I can't watch strangers steal everything you and Dad worked for. Please, let me help you. Let me protect you." It was a masterful performance. I realize that now. Every tear calculated, every word rehearsed. He'd been planning this for months, probably since the day after Thomas's funeral. "What do these papers do?" I asked, my hands trembling as I held them. "They just give me legal authority to help manage your finances if you need it. You're still in control, Mom. But if something happens, if you get sick or confused, I can step in and protect you. That's all. Just protection." Lies. Every word was a lie. But I signed them. I signed every single page. He'd brought a notary with him. A woman who barely looked at me, just stamped and witnessed. The whole thing took 15 minutes. I handed my son complete control of my life savings, my house, my future. And I did it because I loved him. 2 weeks later, Kevin added himself to all my bank accounts as a joint owner. "Just in case of emergencies, Mom. So I can help pay bills if you're sick." 4 weeks later, he convinced me to take out a home equity line of credit. "For emergencies, Mom. What if the roof needs replacing? What if the furnace dies? You need access to your equity." We got approved for $200,000. The money sat in an account Kevin had access to. 6 weeks later, my life savings started disappearing. And I had no idea. I discovered the theft by accident, which is probably what Kevin counted on. He assumed I was too old, too technologically illiterate, too trusting to actually check my accounts regularly. He was almost right. It was my neighbor, Patricia, who saved me. Patricia had been a bank manager for 37 years before retiring. She was smart, suspicious, and paid attention to things. In early June 2023, Patricia knocked on my door holding a package that had been delivered to her house by mistake. It was addressed to me from a law firm in Tacoma. "Dorothy, this looks important. Also, honey, I don't mean to pry, but I saw a foreclosure notice on the bulletin board at the community center. The address looked like yours. Is everything okay?" My blood turned to ice. "Foreclosure? That's impossible. My house is paid off." Patricia's face went pale. "Dorothy, when's the last time you checked your mortgage status?" "I don't need to. Thomas and I paid off the house in 2014. We had a party. We burned the mortgage papers in the fireplace. Honey, you need to check. Right now." We went inside. Patricia helped me log into my county property records online. What we found made me vomit into my kitchen sink. My house, my beautiful paid-off house, had a new mortgage on it. $175,000, taken out in February 2023, the same month I'd signed Kevin's power of attorney papers. Payments were 3 months overdue. Foreclosure proceedings had begun. "I didn't do this," I whispered. "I never borrowed this money." Patricia's jaw was clenched. "Who has access to your finances?" "Just Kevin, my son. He's helping me manage." I couldn't finish the sentence, because suddenly everything clicked into place. The frequent visits, the urgent legal papers, the insistence on being added to my accounts, the home equity line. Patricia pulled up my bank statements. We sat at my kitchen table for 3 hours, going through every transaction since February. What we found destroyed me. $175,000 from the house mortgage. Gone. Withdrawn in chunks. $20,000 here, $15,000 there, $8,000 there. All ATM withdrawals from casinos, Snoqualmie Casino, Muckleshoot Casino, Tulalip Casino. Sometimes 3 or 4 withdrawals in a single day. The $200,000 home equity line drained, every penny. Same pattern. Casino ATMs, my savings account that had contained Thomas's $175,000 life insurance, down to $3,200 the rest. Casino withdrawals and wire transfers to online gambling sites. In 4 months, Kevin had stolen or gambled away $547,000. Everything Thomas and I had worked for, everything that was supposed to carry me through retirement. I couldn't breathe. Patricia called 911 because she thought I was having a heart attack. Maybe I was. Maybe my heart did break that day. I spent 6 hours in the ER while they ran tests. Anxiety attack, they said. Acute stress reaction. When I got home, there was a voicemail from Kevin. His voice was cheerful, light, normal. Hey, Mom, just checking in. Haven't heard from you in a few days. Emma wants to know if you're coming to her dance recital next week. Love you. Love you. That's when I stopped crying. That's when the grief transformed into something else. Something cold and sharp and focused. My son had stolen my life savings to feed his gambling addiction. He'd forged documents, lied to my face, and left me 3 months away from losing my home. And he had the audacity to say he loved me. I didn't call him back. Instead, I called Patricia. I need your help, I said. I need to destroy him. Patricia smiled. Finally, let's go to war. Patricia became my general in this war. The first thing she did was help me secure what little I had left. We moved the remaining $3,200 to a new bank account Kevin didn't know about. We froze my credit. We changed every password on every account. Then she drove me to the police station. The detective assigned to my case was a woman in her early 40s, named Sarah Park. She had kind eyes but a steel spine. She listened to my story, looked through the bank statements Patricia had printed, and shook her head. Mrs. Chen, I'm not going to lie to you. These cases are hard to prosecute. He has power of attorney. He's a joint owner on these accounts. Legally, he had the right to access this money. I felt my hope dying, so he gets away with it. I didn't say that. Detective Park leaned forward. The home mortgage is different. If he forged your signature or used his POA inappropriately to take out that loan, that's fraud. The fact that all this money went to gambling helps us. It shows the transactions weren't for your benefit. And if we can prove he manipulated you into signing the POA under false pretenses, we might have a case for financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. I'm not vulnerable, I said sharply. I'm angry. Detective Park smiled. Even better. Angry victims make the best witnesses. Here's what we need. Evidence that he lied to you. Evidence of where the money went. And evidence that you didn't consent to or benefit from these transactions. Can you get me that? Yes, I said. I can get you all of that. Over the next 6 weeks, Patricia and I became investigators. We filed Freedom of Information requests with every casino in Washington state, requesting records of Kevin's gambling activity. We got statements showing hundreds of visits, massive losses, cash advances. We subpoenaed his cell phone records, which showed he'd been lying to Jessica about where he was. While she thought he was working late, he was at casinos. While she thought he was visiting me, he was at poker tables. I recorded phone conversations with Kevin where he lied about my finances. Your accounts are looking great, Mom. I invested some money and you're up almost $30,000. I was, in fact, down $544,000. I got testimony from my doctor stating I had no cognitive impairment, no memory issues, no condition that would require a power of attorney. Kevin's claims to medical professionals were fabrications. We tracked down the notary who'd witnessed the POA signing. After some pressure from Detective Park, she admitted Kevin had paid her $500 cash and told her to just stamp everything quickly, without actually verifying my identity or understanding of the documents. The evidence mounted like a tidal wave. Bank records, casino records, forged documents, recorded lies, medical testimony. Every piece another nail in Kevin's coffin. But the twist, the beautiful, terrible twist, came from an unexpected source. Jessica. She called me in late July. Her voice was broken, desperate. "Dorothy, I need to talk to you. Can I come over alone?" She arrived an hour later, her face puffy from crying. She sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd discovered her husband's betrayal, and told me everything. Kevin had a gambling addiction for 7 years. He'd maxed out every credit card they owned. He'd taken out title loans on both their cars. He'd borrowed money from loan sharks and was being threatened. They were about to lose their house. She'd been working 3 jobs to keep food on the table while Kevin told her he was working on a big deal. "I didn't know about you," she sobbed. "I swear, Dorothy, I didn't know he was stealing from you. When I found out," she pulled out a folder. "I made copies of everything. His gambling apps, his loan documents, text messages between him and the people he owes money to. I want him to pay for what he did to you, and to us, and to our kids." Jessica had brought me the smoking gun. Text messages where Kevin bragged to gambling, buddies about tapping into my mom's. Accounts, conversations about the old lady won't notice. Plans to milk the house. Equity dry before she figures it out. He'd called me the old lady, his own mother. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't just going to press charges. I was going to take everything from him. Every single thing he loved, just like he did to me. Detective Park moved fast once we had Jessica's evidence. In early August 2023, they arrested Kevin at his workplace. Not at home where his kids might see, but still public, still humiliating. His co-workers watched as police let him out in handcuffs. He was charged with first-degree theft, felony, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, felony, forgery, felony, identity theft, felony, mortgage fraud, federal crime. Bail was set at $100,000. He couldn't pay it. The man who'd gambled, away over $500,000, couldn't scrape together $10,000 for a bail bondsman. He sat in King County Jail for 3 weeks before his public defender got the bail reduced to $25,000. Jessica refused to bail him out. "Let him rot," she told me on the phone. "I'm filing for divorce." Kevin's parents, Thomas's brother and his wife, reluctantly paid his bail. They called me, apologetic and heartbroken. "Dorothy, we're so sorry. We had no idea. We'll testify if you need us to." Kevin was released with an ankle, monitoring court, orders staying away from me and accessing any of my accounts or property. The prosecutor assigned to the case was a fierce woman named Michelle Torres, who specialized in elder abuse cases. "Mrs. Chen, I want you to know something," she told me during our first meeting. "I take these cases personally. My grandmother was scammed by her nephew. I became a prosecutor because of her. We're going to bury your son." The preliminary hearing was in September. Kevin showed up looking like he'd aged 10 years in 2 months. He'd lost weight. His hair was greasy. He wore a cheap suit that didn't fit. His lawyer was overworked and underprepared. When Kevin saw me in the courtroom, he started crying. Loud, gasping sobs. "Mom, please. I'm sorry. I'm sick. I need help. Please don't do this." The judge banged her gavel. "Mr. Chen, control yourself or you'll be removed." His lawyer tried to argue that Kevin had a gambling addiction and needed treatment, not prison, that he'd been under financial stress, that he'd intended to pay the money back. Prosecutor Torres destroyed that argument in 5 minutes. She showed the court evidence of Kevin's gambling dating back 7 years. She showed his income, $65,000 a year at the dealership, plus Jessica's $42,000. Enough to live comfortably. She showed how he deliberately targeted me after his father's death. When I was grieving and vulnerable, this wasn't a sick man making a mistake, Torres said. Looking directly at Kevin, this was a predator who systematically groomed and exploited his own mother. He stole her security, her home, her future. He called her the old lady to his friends while pretending to care about her. This is who Kevin Chen is. The judge ruled there was sufficient evidence for trial. Trial date set for January 2024. But the criminal case was just the beginning of Kevin's destruction. I filed a civil lawsuit seeking $850,000 in damages. the stolen amount plus emotional distress, legal fees, and punitive damages. I sued for fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and intentional infliction of emotional stress. I reported him to the Washington State Department of Social and Health Services for power of attorney abuse. His POA was revoked, and he was added to a financial predator registry. I contacted every casino where he'd gambled and informed them he'd used stolen money. 3 of them banned him for life. I gave Jessica's divorce lawyer all the evidence I had. She used it to ensure Jessica got full custody of the children, the house, both cars, and Kevin was ordered to pay child support he couldn't afford. I also did something Kevin never expected from his old lady. Mother, I went to the media. The local news loved the story. Gambling-addicted son steals. Elderly mother's life savings was the headline on King 5 News. My face, 71 years old but fierce, appeared on TV screens across Seattle. I told my story. I showed the evidence. I named Kevin. The interview went viral, not just in Seattle but nationally. News outlets across the country picked it up. My story appeared on CNN, NBC, and Fox News. Elder financial abuse suddenly had a face. Mine. And it had a villain. My son. Kevin's life collapsed completely. The car dealership fired him after the news story aired. We can't have a thief selling cars to our customers. No. One would hire him. His face was too recognizable. His crime too disgusting. His friends abandoned him. His extended family shunned him. He was living in a studio apartment paid for by his parents, who were also supporting Jessica and the kids because Kevin couldn't. The criminal trial happened in January 2024, just as I turned 71. It lasted 5 days. The evidence was overwhelming. Kevin's lawyer tried to put me on trial instead, suggesting I was vindictive, that I wanted to punish my son for having an addiction, that I was exaggerating my damages. It didn't work. The jury saw through it. They saw the bank statements. They heard the recorded phone calls where Kevin lied to me. They heard Jessica's testimony about his years of deception. They heard testimony from the casinos about his massive gambling losses. Most importantly, they heard me. I sat on that witness stand for 4 hours and told them everything. How I'd worked 3 jobs to give my son opportunities. How I'd trusted him after his father died. How he'd systematically destroyed my life while pretending to care about me. I don't want your pity, I told the jury. I want justice. I want my son to understand that actions have consequences, that you can't destroy people and walk away clean. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge looked at Kevin with open contempt. Mr. Chen, you committed one of the most morally repugnant crimes I've encountered. You exploited your mother's grief and trust. You stole her security. You called her degrading names while spending her money at casinos. You've shown no genuine remorse, only self-pity. She sentenced him to 8 years in state prison. Full restitution of $547 and plus interest. Upon release, 5 years probation with mandatory gambling addiction treatment. Kevin collapsed in the courtroom. His lawyer had to hold him up. He looked at me, his face destroyed. Mom, please. I'm your son, please. I looked him in the eyes and said 4 words. You're dead to me. The civil trial happened 3 months later. The jury awarded me $890,000, all my stolen money, plus $343,000 in punitive damages. Kevin would be paying me for the rest of his life. I used the restitution money to save my house from foreclosure. I'm still here, in my home on Beacon Hill, with my view of Mount Rainier. I'm 71 years old. I'm alive. I'm strong. Kevin is in Coyote Ridge Correction Center, serving his sentence. He writes me letters. I burn them without opening them. Jessica and the kids visit me once a month. I'm rebuilding my relationship with my grandchildren, who now understand that loving someone means protecting them, not exploiting them. People ask me if I regret turning in my own son, if I wish I'd given him another chance, if I feel guilty. No, not for a second. Because I didn't destroy my son's life. He destroyed his own life the moment he decided his Gambling addiction was more important than his mother's survival. I just made sure he faced the consequences. And in the end, that's not revenge. That's justice. At the end,